Hey everybody, good afternoon. Mark Stedman here with Glenn Oliver. And today we have something special, which is Glenn and I are sort of trading positions. And today Glenn will be the presenter and I will be tagging along for the ride because I'm as excited to find out about what we're going to talk about today as I hope all of you are. So Glenn, what do you have for us today? You've got a bunch of tablets and computer and stuff?
Exactly. Yeah, I'd like to talk to everyone about BTT Exchanger. Some people, if you've been with us for long enough, might have remembered this product when we first came out when it was called translationExchanger.
That's right. That's right. So we touched on it just briefly, I think in our last showcase or maybe the one before. And this was the product that ran on this little tiny PC, I think, right?
Correct.
So today we're going to actually get a chance to see what it can do and talk a little bit more about how to use it, things like that, right?
So if I may, this is an interesting product to me because we started this out in 2017 after an 8-walk program in which we created Translation Recorder. And this was meant to be a complementary product. It was meant to solve a couple different problems. One of which was, if you can imagine our entire room here filled with other people, each having their own tablet, exchanging information might be as easy as exchanging a tablet, but what happens when you need to go away? What happens when you need to actually transfer files? And suddenly it required somebody with a little bit more knowledge than just being able to interface with the software, hit the record button and translate. And often it required someone to help facilitate that. So we want to take that burden off of people's hands by making something where all the tablets could just communicate freely with a central locus. And the second thing that we wanted to try to explore to make easier was the checking process. It's nice that everyone had their tablet in our scenario, but they're busy working. If I'm checking their work, they got to kind of stop what they're doing, don't they? And I've got to be able to do that. So maybe using that central locale to allow other people to continue the work while you keep translating.
Yeah, that's such a great point. I do remember when we first started with Recorder way back when with a bunch of interns. They did a great job, and it was kind of like, well, this is half the problem. Now what do we do with all these files that are being generated by Bible translators? And so, like you said, Exchanger was the answer to that. The other thing that's notable, and I'm sure you're going to go into this, is that with the collaborative checking process, because this ecosystem is designed for either translators who don't write or don't write much, we really had to tackle the idea of, if you have feedback for me on my translation, what's the best way for you to give that to me?
Can I just write it down?
You just put it on a Post-it.
Wait,
really, that's not really the way I like to hear.
Don't write it.
That's right. And even if you did, think about how many times the issue that you're dealing with in the checking is, well, that's not how we've chosen to pronounce that name, or that's not how we've chosen to pronounce that place. And so you want to be able to have that audible feedback for your checking of your audible scripture. So it also helps with that.
Yeah. Should we take a look at a couple of the features of the program?
I'd love to see it. Show them to me.
Okay, excellent. So what we're looking at here is Exchanger actually already opened, and the first thing you'll see here is a number of what we'll call them cards, and each of them represents a project. And you'll notice that each card, if I look at this top center one here, says it's Genesis, it's English, it has an image, and it has a couple different options. If I was to select this project to talk about, it would load up all of the content. And so if you're familiar with Genesis, it's going behind the scenes and it's actually talking to the database system and pulling up WAV files for all 50 chapters of the book. Now, this is something that has been completed and checked in the past by our winter volunteers and others, and it represents the accumulation of many, many tablets, many hours of work of people contributing it all to this software program. And the program itself brings them all together and lets people work on them. But I'm going to jump back out here for a moment, and I actually took the book of Esther this morning from my tablet, and I named it after this language here, Afaraf, so that I could play with it. So we're looking at something that's a similar facsimile to the real server. what we showed here with this mini PC box, this is actually running in live. I've got a tablet that's talking to it. However, I wouldn't be able to demonstrate this to you live because it's on a completely separate Wi-Fi network. So to demonstrate what I'm showing today, I'm actually taking advantage of our network in the building in another shared instance of it. So here I'm going to select the book of Esther. And a couple things we'll notice, it's not all blue like Genesis we saw here. The software is giving me some indications. One of which is, here's a chapter 1 in which it says I've got 19 out of the 22. And the other ones here that I have 0, 23, and so forth. And then this last one that seems to have a symbol indicating something to me. We'll talk about each. Right here, my only point of interacting with chapter 1 is clicking on the board. And what this is a reference to is what we in the program development and other communities refer to as a Kanban board. But essentially, imagine if you went to a whiteboard and you had a bunch of stickies that you put in a row. Maybe there are things you're trying to accomplish during the day. Hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to get, what I'm doing now, and this is what I'm done. It's a really cool process. And we have something similar here. So if we can imagine that someone here is working in the book of Esther in chapter 1, and they're working on verse 1. Well, they made a couple different takes. Let's go ahead and play this one, for example.
In the days of Ahasuerus,
Whoops.
This is Ahasuerus, who reigned from India as far as Cush over one.
So my apologies to Peter Poloni. He did a really great job, and I inserted an error into the process to kind of show off the fact that we can listen to it and add comments. This is the unadulterated take over here and take 3. But our goal here in general is no matter where we have these cards, our goal, our objective is to take the card, the take that sounds the best and is approved, right? It's correct, it sounds good to the ear. Then I want to move it over to this column all the way over to the right. That is my objective. But along the process, I do want to listen to all the takes that were submitted. Now, if you're familiar with Translation Recorder, you might be familiar with these stars up here. And anything I sent from Translation Recorder that had a rating, a star, would show up automatically filed into the appropriate columns. So somebody working in Translation Recorder can already save me a lot of work by suggesting ones that are the ones that I should be listening to and consider for final approval. But for the moment, let's think about the one I just added here. I played this back here.
In the days of Ahasuerus.
Whoops.
This is
Now, to your point earlier, what if I want to try to communicate to the person that did that recording? How would I let them know what I want done? This may be obvious to you and me, but maybe there's some sort of detail that I want to tell them. Maybe it's, hey, you know, by the way, that insertion of that additional data really sounds odd compared to everything else. You really should retake that. What we do here is we have the ability to add a comment right on the card itself.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and record. Thank you, Glenn, for your edit. That ruined the take. Why don't you go ahead and delete that? I could play that back and listen to it. And what it's going to do now is associate that take directly on the card. So now there is a take here. And we'll also notice a couple other things. This little symbol here happens to represent the person who originally recorded it. And this take here was recorded by me. Nice. We can talk about that a little bit later. But there are icons that actually represent my voice.
Nicholas DePinto.
Oh, Nicholas. And you can hear my take here. Thank you, Glenn, for your edit. That ruined the take. Why don't you go ahead and delete that? So we have a couple ways that we can interact. Somebody else could comment on this comment. The original recorder maybe has a question. We can record that entire dialogue there. If I didn't like the take of what I did, even as a comment, I can simply get rid of that. The program itself gives me an opportunity like, hey, you sure you want to do that? You want to undo that? And if I let the time elapse, then it goes away. I'd mentioned this recording might be something I want to delete. In the same way, I can take that entire take. I'll move it over to the trash can, and away it goes. Let's confirm that.
I like how it gives you a chance to undo it.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's presume I listened to this take up here, and I move it over to here. This is the original one that Peter did. That is correct. And we notice to the side now that it is populated here with the verse 1. Verse 2 and 3 still say unpublished. And if we click on these here, we see why. It's got a take that is not all the way over to the right. So again, my job would be listen to it, compare it to the source material, make sure it's accurate, make sure it sounds good. If it gets approved, we can move it along. And I would repeat this process for each of these verses that is not complete. Right? Now that I've finished doing that, it said, great, good job. You have the opportunity to listen to the whole chapter. This is a kind of unique opportunity where all of these verses can be kind of listened to as one complete chapter. We can listen to it in context and see if they stitch together well. Do we have continuity? Does it sound good? Is there further editing that might be required? We'll go ahead and go to the next chapter. Now, if I go back to our chapters, you'll notice now that I've completed those, it shows me that 22 out of the possible 22 verses have been approved and ready to go.
Nice.
If I look to the next chapter here, it says 0 out of 23. What it means to me is, look, all the side over here with all the verses, they're all unpublished. That is work I need to do.
You need to review all of those and make sure that they're good.
That is correct.
Okay.
Oops, went one step too far. This last one is a little bit different of a scenario. Again, this one says there are takes and I've approved them all. This next one is telling me there are takes, but I have approved 0 so far. And this last one is telling me, hey, there are takes. Oh, there are no takes.
Oh, okay.
And so someone would have to upload from their tablet in order to add to this so that I could work on that.
So Glenn, let me ask you a couple of questions since you've kind of gone through all that. Now, does this work with only one tablet? Can I use this only with one tablet, or what if I have a room full of like 8 or 10 people who each have their own tablet? Will it put all those together into one place like that?
Correct. So if this room was full of, well, actually, let me give you a real scenario.
Okay.
So imagine I'm in the Philippines and it is time for tea and snacks. At a very precious time. But we want to make sure we back up our work that we've been doing this morning. So we might be together. And so everyone goes into their little tablet. And they might have their projects. And they would open up their individual project. And then they would hit the upload. And that upload would let the tablet talk to our little box or our network up here and say, hey, I've got new files for you. And any files that it has not already seen from you, it will add those together. And so that's how we start accumulating different verses and takes to build our chapters and to build our books.
So we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but I'm just going to refresh. Do we need internet to use this?
So this box here provides its own local internet. So it's providing a Wi-Fi signal that I can attach to. This tablet here, as a matter of fact, put this guy in front of it, is actually talking to the box. And you can kind of see that initial screen where it's saying, hi, who are you and what would you like to do? And let me just show off one cool feature as long as we're here. If we presume this tablet maybe doesn't even have the software I want yet. Right? I like to put Exchange or other tools on there. If I go here, I'm in a browser and I've connected to this box. And simply by doing that and going to opentranslationtools.org, then it provides me this screen and I can even touch the download button. And what it's doing is showing all the software that this box can install, and it shows me which ones are appropriate for my system.
Nice.
So it has more systems on here because you might want to be talking to it like I am from a PC or a Mac or anything that has a browser device. This will offer that client software and more.
So when we bring a translation exchanger box to a location where there's going to be some translation activity, we don't need internet, and we don't even have to have the software installed on the tablets, it sounds like you're saying, because it's all available for download right from this server that we're bringing with us, this little tiny box, right?
Absolutely correct.
Okay, yeah. So you can use it anywhere, even if there's not internet, and even if you have people who have their own tablet, for instance, but don't have the software already. They'll be able to install it right off of that box.
Correct.
And then you can have multiple people in the room, each working on their chapter. Let's say you're doing chapter 1 and I'm doing chapter 2, and members of our studio audience are doing chapters 3 and 4. And all that work is going to get compiled together back onto the server. And it's smart enough so that when you do the uploads, it's not sending all of your work, it's just sending all of your new work.
Absolutely correct.
So you can
They're
do
in
it throughout the
communication
day.
with each other. Recorder tells Exchange what it has available for upload. Exchange already is comparing that to what it already knows in its database and just requests the things that are new.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, so you could back up a couple times a day, and it's not going to take a long time because it's just going to do the new stuff.
That is correct.
So you know, if I'm in a remote location, let's say, you know, why would I want to back up? I mean, who cares, right? It's on the tablet. Nothing's going to happen to that.
You hurt my heart. No, more than just that, there's also the aspect of having another way of storing that, making sure the hard work is not lost. In fact, as some of you know, that was one of the reasons that we primarily built Translation Recorder, is that existing software would oftentimes lose your work, and that's frustrating and just a crime. So we wanted to make sure that was one of our chief abilities. But we also wanted the ability to provide an easier way to start sharing this material. So if I may, let's return to the screen for just a moment. And we're talking about various projects. I'm gonna go down to Ruth here. Now, when I had this option to select Ruth as though I was going to be doing some work on it, there's also this other button of export. And if I click on export, for example, it shows me right away there's a couple different methods of interacting with this. One of which here is, let's go to download. So for this project here, it would show me the various chapters of Ruth, and I'm going to go ahead and select all of them. And it would say, great, you've selected everything that I know about Ruth. What would you like me to do with this? Would you like me to provide these to you as MP3s, in which case it would convert them on the fly and provide them for you to download maybe to your phone, your tablet, whatever listening device. Essentially, again, all you need is a browser to be able to connect. We do provide the client software for most of the operating systems, which we recommend. So it allowed me to do that as MP3s. And what I did today, even just preparing for this demo, however, is I asked for it as WAV files, because by doing that, it allowed me to copy this down to my tablet so I could kind of prepare this demo. So I can also bring stuff back out of the application so that I can bring it back to tablets if I should wish. And doing the, let's see, the other thing here is, let's go back to Ruth again, transfer. So as happened in the Philippines, we took over several different boxes, and they were working, I think, primarily most of the week that we were there, and we left some boxes with them, but we wanted the opportunity to take a kind of a copy of what they had, snapshot, if you will, with us. And that would allow them to utilize this, which is a transfer. And that takes all of the content. So let me say, for example, with the MP3s or WAV files, I'm just providing you the takes, maybe even just the selected takes.
Right.
But with the transfer, I'm getting everything. I get the comments, I get the structure, I get all the projects that are being worked on, whether they're completed or not.
Right.
So it's a really good backup of a backup system, and it makes it very portable. It's on a single file, and so I could bring up any other translation exchange here at home, a different location, and continue the work that I started in the primary location.
Right. So if you had a group of translators who, let's say they were going to go home to 2 different locations, you could essentially clone the server off, and each group could take the work and continue to work on their own independently.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's been a key system. I mean, we're talking about the backup feature. Some of what we've built into the system is active in the field. In other parts, we're still very anxious to hear from the field what parts are important to them. What can we make better? What can we continue to work on? And for that, actually, I'd like to maybe have Chuck chime in, who Chuck Liesch has actually used this in the field on our behalf, traveling where we couldn't be able to go.
Yeah, let's loop in Chuck Liesch. So Chuck is coming to us from the frigid north. I suppose it's not that frigid this time of the year, but to me it feels frigid. when I think about
We're
it.
way up in the 70s today, so we're fine.
Okay, all right, that's good. So chance of frostbite low for Chuck today. That's good to know. Chuck is, as Glenn just mentioned, he's a Tech Advance technician, long time experience in the field, and is an important part of our team, travels all over the world to help support Bible translation activity. So Chuck, tell us a little bit about using Exchanger in the field.
It's pretty exciting, really. I took one of these nukes with me. This is the Exchanger, and I decided on the way back from my trip, I decided to check it to see how it would take being put into the luggage, and it worked perfectly. It's a good, solid, sturdy box, and that's kind of exciting because sometimes your backpack gets kind of heavy. So really nice design choices that you've made with it. I was in Indonesia. I can share my screen. Are you seeing me and some Indonesians there?
Ah, excellent.
Yeah. So this is, and there's Mark Thrash. So the two of us spent a couple weeks in the Pacific, and this is us in Indonesia. I took Exchanger and had, this is about 2/3 of the guys that were at the workshop. I had some of them install BTT recorder from a distributed, I believe it was SD card, a micro SD card. And I had the rest of them download Exchanger from BTT, excuse me. I had the rest of them download BTT recorder from Exchanger.
Right.
And so I had to kind of split them into two test groups. They installed BTT recorder, and then I had them, as we're doing our sessions, learning how to use it, I had them upload to BTT Exchanger, and both of them were able to upload seamlessly, whether they had installed it off of Exchanger or whether they had installed off of SD card.
Nice. So Chuck, if you're at an event and you aren't using Exchanger, in order to compile those files together, what do you have to do?
It's a lot of work.
Okay, you don't have to tell us the whole process. That's all I was looking for.
Yeah, it's just painful because what Glenn made it sound like 3 steps and you're done, and it really is with BTT Exchanger. And these fellas, they're very capable with Android devices. They can move stuff back and forth over Bluetooth or whatnot. They're used to it. But to see them, as I showed them, here's how you upload to, using this cloud icon, the BTT Exchanger, it really wowed them. I mean, it was really fun to see the potential of having a room of a number of people hit the upload to the cloud and watch it go up to the BTT Exchanger very seamlessly.
Nice.
I was at an event where, you're basically showing people, okay, this is the front, this is the back. You're really starting at that level.
Right.
And Android file management is kind of it's not a very thing you use a lot.
Right.
So to either have your on-the-go cable or have a micro SD card, and to move the files so that, export it out of recorder, move it to a card, move that card over to your machine, import it, it's tedious. And just this BTT Exchanger, I think, is really well worth the effort that the team has put into it. I'm very, very excited. And like Glenn was saying, just to have the executables on there, that you could set up the Wi-Fi, connect to it, there's your executable, download it, put it on your tablet and get rolling. Very nice, very nice.
So it sounds like you would give it a thumbs up on using it at an oral Bible translation workshop.
Oh, without it, I don't think I would spec a Bible translation workshop without an Exchanger. And I like the fact, and correct me, Glenn, if I'm wrong, but I like the fact that if you have 6 people working on the book of Ruth, if they all upload it, you don't get 6 different copies of Ruth. You get 1 copy of Ruth. So you don't have Chuck's copy and Glenn's copy and Mark's copy. You just have the team's copy. And wow, that's just really nice. And now you've got that facilitator able to work in the background, checking things. is this what I was looking for? Is the voice level good without, disrupting a lot of translation process? So really well done. And it's really worth, carrying something like this, in your backpack or however you're going to get there.
Well, Glenn, let's talk about electric power a little bit. I know you've got a device here. Mm-hmm. So, we've talked in the past about the fact that you can run all of this on battery. So you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think the only challenge is that we, on our translation BTT exchanger site, really only recommend what hardware is required. We're not pushing a particular box.
Right.
And so sometimes that has ended up in systems that only require like 12 volts or something like that. Some of them require 18. You can build it, configure. So that means that some of them don't even need this. This particular battery here we ran in the Philippines, and this would run for about 8 hours. Run the box and whatever I need. So it made it really convenient, especially when we encountered power spiking, power going out. We didn't go down, and that was fabulous. But this requires an inverter, our first ever. The ones we've done now are entirely DC and can go directly into the device, so they can last even longer. So that's probably the one thing that to look out for. Also because unfortunately, technology always moves forward. Things get smaller and more compact. So the best device is always a moving target. But one of the things is we're thinking about the success that we've had with this box, and are already thinking about other things we can do with the same box for other software in the future. Maybe packing more things onto it, making it even more versatile with other suites of software.
Yeah. So if I wanted to get one of these set up and use it at an event, who would I ask questions of to find out exactly which box would be the best one to buy, what would be the right power bricks, and things like that?
Yeah, I've asked Chuck.
Okay, so we should actually just reach out to Chuck Liesch, and Chuck will let us know which model to buy. No, I think we have an Amazon shopping list maybe that's got everything on it. So we've got the Wi-Fi adapter and the computer PC, which is the server, and things like that. So yeah, we can point you to exactly what you need. Or of course, all these things are available through Tech Advance, right?
Yes.
So, you don't have to go and buy this on your own. We are very, very happy to help you get this set up if you want to use this at an event.
Very true.
All right. Well, Glenn, this has been great. I think, obviously, I really like Translation Exchanger. You and I worked on it along with others on our team in 2017 with a great group of interns in this room. Actually, we're in conference room 2 in Orlando.
That's right.
And so I've had a heart for this sort of the back end of oral Bible translation for a long time, and so it's exciting to see it come together.
Let's some questions.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let's take our last few minutes here and answer some questions. So, producer, do you have any questions for us from the field?
Yes. The first question is from Bob Buckham. Could you discuss the development team behind this? Who developed it, when, where, how?
Yeah, that's great. So I just alluded to the fact that it started out with our 2017 8 weeks of code, 12 computer science interns who came and worked with us for 8 weeks over the summer.
Yeah.
Got it started, and then we kept some of those. I think that year we kept 4 of those people on for the whole year. So we had a couple of guys that stayed working on this project, and another couple that did other things as well, I think.
Yep.
So it was started with interns, and then our kind of our full-time long-term team has done some work on it.
The amazing Joe Sarabia.
Joe has done some work on it. I think Max has worked on it. Yeah. So it's been a team effort, I think.
Good, thank you. Second question is from Sandy Roach. Chuck might be able to answer this one better. She asks, is this similar to how we merge autographa files? Chuck, is that something you know anything about?
I don't think so. I think, once you upload it, the server does the merging. Is that how you would put it, Glenn?
Yes, that's correct.
And so that's, so when you upload your data from BTT Writer up to WAX, every user has their own repository.
Right.
And then somebody has to go and merge all those manually. With BTT Exchanger, as the translators are publishing, they're publishing to BTT Exchanger. And BTT Exchanger brings that, concatenates that data together in the correct book. So if they're all working on the same translation, it'll all be put together in the same book. One nice thing about BTT Exchanger is on BTT Recorder, I think you can only build up to a chapter. I can't make I don't think I can make like a book. That's something I've never thought of. But I know that BTT Exchanger, you can take all those chapters and build it into a book at that level. Did I stump the panel?
Recorder will let you build up to a book, yes.
Okay, okay. Okay.
All right. So Glenn, before we hang up here, let's just talk a little bit about our next software showcase. We're going to change gears a little bit. Up till now, all of our software showcases have been Bible translation tools focused. And that's probably going to be primarily what we do. But I think we're going to take the next one and we're actually going to show you a feature in Outlook. As we've all moved into a more distributed world with more meetings and more online interactions and things like that through Teams, there's a really cool feature inside of Outlook that I want to introduce everybody to that's called Find Time. So have you ever found yourself in a situation where you need to coordinate a meeting with, say, 4 or 5 people who are scattered all over the country, different time zones and everything else, and you find yourself emailing out and saying, well, I'm clear Tuesday at 1 or Wednesday at 9 o'clock in the morning. Where are you guys at? And of course, you get 4 different responses back of I'm available on Thursday, but not Friday. And then you end up with this long email thread, and eventually you just cancel the meeting anyway, because by the time you figure it all out, it just doesn't matter anymore, right?
The time that it takes to arrange the meeting can elapse the meeting time.
Correct. So I want to introduce everybody to a feature that's actually baked into your Outlook that really simplifies that and makes it very, very easy. And I think you're all going to really like it. It's very, very easy to use. So easy to use that even a VP can use it. And it really helps with managing those meetings with people who are scattered all over the world.
I need this in my life. It sounds good.
I think you're going to like it. I think you're going to like it. So tune in here in a couple of weeks. Len and I will be back, and I will show you something related to business software. Like I said, that's not going to be our primary intent with these software showcases, but I think this one will be helpful and useful, and then we'll be back with more Bible translation software for the one after that. Cool. So thanks again, Glenn. Been really good. Thank you so much, Chuck, for jumping in and giving us kind of the field perspective. And thanks, Craig, for producing the meeting. See you all next time. Bye-bye.